since everybody can just go up and start a website with a new piece of technology to try and solve one of these problems, we're seeing lots of different possibilities, lots of different funding models, lots of different, recommendation systems. And who knows what'll work best, We have a chance to try it all and see what falls out. So there are a couple of interesting funding models. One, of course, is the sort of standard method of advertising, right? You go to a bunch of big corporate sponsors, and instead of having them fund a television show, you have them fund your webpage. But a more interesting one is you do the same thing with niche groups, right? Instead of going to IBM or Ford or some big company and having them buy a banner ad on your site, you go to people who actually care about the readers you have. If you're a design weblog, you go to design companies, right? If you're a politics weblog, you go to other politicians. So you have a very targeted, narrow group of people who are really interested in the subject. That's a group of an audience that advertisers really love. Another possibility is to turn directly to your readers for support. So you see blogs say, I want to go on a trip to New Hampshire to cover the American political conventions. Will you support me? And the readers pour in money. These people are very dedicated. They feel like they have a personal connection with the person writing. So they are eager to spend money to support it. Another thing is that you work simply off of volunteer labor. You have people who have a day job, that's an expert in the subject, and they just enjoy talking about it. So they write stuff in their free time and publish it on the internet. Or they have readers who read their site and contribute stuff, and it gets compiled into one exciting source. So I think there are lots of different experiments, and people are trying lots of different ways. I mean, that's one of the errors you had with television, right? Was that television could only provide one level of interest, right? People watched it was funded based on advertising, not on how much people cared about the program. Advertisers were going to pay the same no matter how exciting or how compelling or how interested the audience was in the show. So what you ended up with was, fairly boring shows that appealed to lots of people because that's what advertisers wanted. They wanted lots of people watching the shows. Whereas in a normal market economy, what happens is if you really want something, you pay more for it. You just can't do that with television. So one of the interesting things about broadcast is that a lot of what you like depends on what other people like, right? There are only so many shows out there. They're all kind of bland, and so what happens is you have these mega hits like American Idol or Lost, where everybody at the water cooler is talking about this show, and so you just have to watch it because otherwise you can't keep up with them. You have whenever social factors get involved, you have this sort of process of rich gets richer. One thing takes off because that's what everybody else is doing. One nice thing about the internet is that it allows for so much more variety, that niche products can get so much more attention and interest. So they've run the numbers, and there's this proven mathematical fact that as long as some percentage of what you care about is whether other people like it or not, you're going to end up with these patterns of hits and failures. If you have two things which are equivalent in quality, and one of them is liked by one more person than the other one, you're going to go to that one. There's some small chance that you're going to go to that one, and everybody's going to start going to that one. And all of a sudden, you have Harry Potter, this one book plucked out of nowhere that suddenly becomes this humongous mega hit. Not because it's 100 million times better written than every other book, but simply because everybody's reading it, and putting stuff on the internet.